It's WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina, cable TV, channel 25, and worldwide at country.am. 11:07 is our time, and on Monday mornings around this time, sometimes even 2 minutes earlier than right now, we're on the air live with Sheriff Palmer. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Tim.
How was your weekend?
It was good. I had a good weekend.
Did you build any snowmen or anything?
I got a good suntan over the weekend. Actually, I took off a couple of days last week, and me and my son went up north, and we went deer hunting for a while. And
so you just had to go look for cold weather.
We did. We was trying to find, and we didn't find it up there either. It was in the 60s up there.
Oh, wow.
And so we didn't have a successful hunting trip because of the weather, but we had a good time just getting away and getting out and that kind of thing. But,
very good. What part did you go to?
We went up to Wilkes County, up North Wilkesboro.
Okay.
And, we have some property up there that we hunt. It's a good place. We usually see a lot of deer there, but I guess with the weather and the moon phases and the way it is, we didn't see a whole lot.
So still in North Carolina. I was thinking up north, like in Maine or somewhere.
No, I don't get that far away anymore. I try to stay relatively close.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you got a chance to get away. I know you work a lot of hours.
Well, it's one of those things, that you get away and you stay gone a day or two, but you come back and your desk is piled up with messages, and your phone is packed full of messages, and your email is packed full of messages.
Yes.
That's what I did all morning. I spent all morning just trying to return phone calls and get messages.
It's hard to get away, especially if you're carrying your smartphone with you.
It is. And a lot of my stuff I do anymore, and it's become common practice, I guess. But I get a lot of conversation with citizens via Facebook, and just different text messaging and stuff like that in my phone. My phone number's out there everywhere, all over different places, so I don't try to hide it. So people has communications with me and can get a hold of me if they need me for something. So a lot of those people send Facebook messages, give me text messages, call my cell phone, things of that nature. And I'm more than happy to talk to people and keep in communication with people, but you do need a way sometimes.
Right. Yeah, that's very challenging because you have a high-profile job where so many people want to get in touch with you,
right?
And yet they can.
Right.
Yeah, that's a little scary for me.
It is. Sometimes that's a great thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing too, because like you say, when you're doing family vacations and family trips and just trying to get away for a while, sometimes you have to come down to the point of just turning your phone off, to just spend some family time.
Did you get successful moving dispatch to your kitchen?
To my kitchen? No, I didn't. We didn't go that far, but I think their dispatch director kind of talked me out of that idea.
Okay,
so.
Very good.
Yeah, for those of y'all that may not know what Tim's talking about, I told him a couple of weeks ago that I decided I got so many phone calls at home, I would just move and dispatch to my kitchen there at home. And but no, we didn't do that. But it has been a thought. We've entertained it.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. We do want to send out our condolences to a neighboring law enforcement officer from Hiawassee Police Department. Chief of Police Jimmy Wright passed away yesterday morning, and I know law enforcement families always bond together, and I'm sure you've had the opportunity to work with the chief of Hiawassee Police Department.
We have, and we work with all of our surrounding agencies, and you become close, even though they're different states and different departments and different offices. You still we're all in this thing together, and so we kind of there is a common bond there between law enforcement agencies.
And I was reading his Facebook page. He had just gotten an award for 25 years of service,
right.
And today is actually the 25th day, and he passed away one day before. That.
Actually, when I was elected last year, we had a sheriff-elect from another county that went through all the school and everything in November. And the weekend before we were to take office in December, he passed away that weekend, never got to take office. And
oh, wow.
So, those type of things do happen, and there's no way of knowing what the future holds, but we just try to help each other and get through it the best we can.
And just a couple of counties away, too, in Habersham County, the mayor was shot and killed.
Right.
And that's in Clarksville, Georgia, so just not too far away. So
right.
our thoughts and prayers are with his family.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. There's law enforcement's like every other job. There are good ones and there are bad ones, and there's people that shouldn't be wearing a badge, that shouldn't be out there. But the vast majority of the people are good people that just wants to do a good job and help their community.
All right. Yeah. What do we got going on today, Sheriff?
It's just another day. We're not got any what we would call big roundups or big things happening that really stands out in the press right now. But we are just consistently plugging away and trying to take care of business there at the sheriff's office. We constantly trying to fight the drug situation, drug problems. I've been on the phone all morning with people reporting things and trying to talk about things that's going on in their neighborhoods and what they're seeing out there. And so that information is very valuable. And like I say, I want to always encourage people to do that, to call and let us know what's happening in the neighborhoods. And we may not can get to it right away. We may have other things that we're dealing with at the moment. But all the information we can gather would really benefit your neighborhood and benefit our county. Because one of the things that we are trying to do is through our narcotics division, we are developing databases and trying to put all this information together to where we can compile all this in one place to where if that person pops up later on the radar and we only have just a piece or two of information, but we know we've got it from multiple sources, it can be in one place, and therefore we don't have to go searching through files and searching through notes and all these kind of things trying to find out what that information was. And it just makes life a lot easier. It makes us piece things together a lot better. Makes us develop search warrants and arrest warrants a lot easier when we have all that information in one place. So keep calling, keep giving the information.
And one of the things you've mentioned a few times on the program is being reactive versus proactive on crime. What are some ways that crime can be prevented in our area?
Well, it depends on what kind of crime you're talking about. I mean, there are different avenues for different things. For example, like let's just talk about breaking and entering for a moment. You know, people breaking your home, stealing stuff. There's things you can do as a citizen that can make your home less attractive to criminals. And a few ways of making it less attractive is make sure that your home and your yards and your driveway and stuff is well lit. That it's out in the open. There are lights. There's different things you can do is making sure bushes are trimmed away from your windows, for example, to where you can see out of your windows. When people are at your front door or around your house, you can see things that's going on outside. Different locks and different apparatuses. You can put, of course, alarm systems. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make your home less attractive to be broken into. Criminals are typically opportunists. They look for easy targets and easy things to do. So if they pull up in a yard and there's an alarm system sign in the yard and neighborhood watch signs, your house is well lit, looks like there's people at home, a television playing, dogs barking, things like that. Typically those are the kind of homes they will stay away from, and they'll look for that secluded home where the lights are off and doesn't appear anybody be home, or maybe it's been vacant for a while. Those are all type things they kind of look for to break into. So if you do these steps, make your home well lit. And I always tell people, encourage people. I know that a lot of people like to save as much money as they can on their power bill, but I always like to tell people, even when you're leaving home and going to town, if you're going grocery shopping, leave a television playing, leave some stuff going on in the house, leave a radio playing. That way when the person comes up to your home to break into it, they're not for sure whether somebody's in there or not. And so if they hear television playing or noise inside the house, sometimes that's just enough to deter them from actually breaking into the home, and they'll find somewhere else to go to. So, I mean, there's ways of deterring crime, depending on what kind of crime that is you want to deter.
From a parental standpoint, I know there's a lot of folks out there that we see over and over, and they live a life of crime. They go from one thing to another, and I don't know if there's an addiction to breaking the law or what. And a lot of the parents blame themselves, and it's not always the parents' fault.
Right.
Kids don't always do what they should be doing. Are there some things that parents could do to kind of deter their kids from getting mixed up in the wrong?
One thing I've always said, and I actually talked to the parent this weekend, actually at church, as a matter of fact, is where I talked to this parent about a child problem they were having. And the thing about it is, as a parent with small children, there has to be consistency and discipline. And you can't let a child do what it wants to do and then just all of a sudden one day get mad about it and want them to do something different. You have to be consistent in your parenting skills. You have to be consistent in your discipline. But even at that some point, even if you are consistent, even if you're doing the best as you can do as a parent, and then later on your child gets in trouble, whether they get in trouble at school or whether they get in trouble with the police or they get in some kind of problem, I know as parents we want to take care of our children, we want to protect our children, but they need to understand that there's consequences for their actions.
Right.
So flying in there and getting them out of trouble and saving them from the problem where they have no consequences sometimes can be detrimental to people as they grow older. Mm-hmm. And if they're consistently getting in trouble and consistently doing these things, and parents are consistently getting them out of trouble, then as an adult they have lived a life of no consequences, and as an adult, they have the same mentality as I can keep doing what I want to do, and I should be able to do it. So, from a parental standpoint, there's nothing wrong with protecting your child. There's nothing wrong with wanting to help your child. There's nothing wrong with taking care of your children. But there needs to always be some type of consequence for their actions when they do things. And I think as long as we hold our children accountable for what they do and discipline consistently and things of that nature, for the most part, there's always those exceptions, but for the most part, then children are raised with respect and raised to respect the law and respect the rules.
The word respect means so much.
It does.
And I always remember my parents would say, okay, now you've got to face the music, or you've done this wrong, now you've got to face your consequences. And I think that is very important, and not just picking up a kid every time he falls.
Well, I know times have changed, and I know that a lot of things in society has changed. But I know growing up in my childhood home, my dad especially growing up, he would let us get away with a lot of stuff. I mean, he didn't really hold our feet to the fire on a lot of things that we did, but there were certain things that we knew that was not allowed. Right. And one of the things that was just absolutely not allowed in our home was any kind of disrespect or back-talking or smarting off to adults and things of that nature. You know, the way kids talk to their parents today, I don't think I would be here today if I talked to my parents that way.
Right.
And so, you know, even with that, you know, there's perimeters and guidelines set up to where we knew what was allowed and what wasn't allowed in the home growing up. And that's part of the consistency that I'm talking about, is that, you know, as a parent, you have to be consistent with what's allowed and what's not allowed within the home. And as long as they stay within those allowable boundaries, everything's okay. But once they start pushing those boundaries or getting outside those boundaries, then that's time to step in and say, this is what the rules are and these are the consequences. And if you break these rules, you know what the consequences are, and you might be upset, you might cry, you might be mad at me, but you're still going to pay the consequences for that because you knew that before you broke them. And I think that's where a lot of the parents are messing up in today's society, is they don't hold their children accountable for breaking those rules.
Right. Yeah. All right. One of the things we want to talk about, too, is one of the things that your office is focusing on, and it also involves responsible parenting, the subject of child support.
Right.
Tell us when child support is granted. What situation that two people have produced a child and they're both responsible for making sure that child.
Well, there's a lot of different ways that comes about. I mean, there's a lot of different situations. But typically when you go through divorces and things of that nature, one of the two parents is granted custody of the child, typically. Like I say, with everything I'm telling you, there's exceptions too.
Right.
So somebody will say, well, that didn't happen with me. Well, no, it may not have, because there's always exceptions. But typically one of the parents will be granted the custody of the child. Another one will be granted visitation or things of that nature, or it may be a mutual aid back and forth between the two. But typically whoever has custody of the child is granted by the court some kind of support for that child. And so the other parent will be ordered by the court to pay X amount of dollars per month in support of this child to take care of it. There's other things that come with child support. When children are put in foster homes and things of that nature, and foster parents take custody of children, sometimes they can go back and petition for the parents to pay the foster parent for raising the child. It doesn't go to the parent, it goes to the child. But it's money that the parents pay for the foster parent to raise the child, for education, for clothing, for health needs and things of that nature. So there's different ways child support can come into being, and there's many, many more than that. But we don't need to cover all that kind of stuff. It's just generalized. That's the way it does. But typically, what happens is when it's a court order to pay that. So if a parent is ordered to pay the child support and they don't pay it, or they refuse to pay it, they're technically in violation of a court order. So people say, well, how can you be put in jail for arrears for not paying a child support? Is that illegal? Is that not against the Constitution? Well, you're not put into jail for monetary payment. You're put into jail because you violated a court order. That's what the charge actually is. And so most of the time when you're put in jail for violation of that court order, your bond is typically whatever you owe in that child support that got you put in jail for violation of that order. So if you owe the person $10,000 and you got arrested owing $10,000, that's typically what you have to pay to get out of jail. If you owe $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000, that's what you owe to get out of jail. Now, there's ways around that through child support enforcement. You can meet with our workers, and they can set up different payment plans and different things of that nature to help you get out of jail. Because honestly, I mean, if you owe $100,000 and you're sitting in jail and can't pay it, you're never going to make $100,000 to pay to get out of jail. So they set up different payment plans and different things to help people get out of jail. And a lot of that includes letters from employers stating they are employed, and this is where they'll be employed at if they get out of jail. Maybe working with employers to set up a certain amount of money out of their check to go toward child support. There's different ways people can get out. But one of the things that we're looking at doing, and I met with one of my sergeants this morning about this and talked to him about it, is that our officers over the weekend, our regular patrol officers, I think have picked up 4 different people on child support over the weekend and put them in jail. And we still got about 40 or so left on the list to pick up. And that changes every month. Every month they put out a new list. So what we had talked about doing this morning is basically after the first of the year, after we get Christmas behind us, of maybe doing going out and trying to pick a lot of these people up and getting them put in jail, so they can pay their child support and get some of these families paid back for money they owe. And
child support, it's not a punishment. It is to grant that child their basic needs so that they're met.
Yeah,
and that's how I understand it.
And that's why a lot of people misunderstand this. If a person and their wife split up and the wife has the child, a lot of people view this as, well, I'm not giving her X amount of dollars. Well, it's not giving it to her. It's giving it to the child and making sure the child is taken care of and child needs. So a lot of people look at this all wrong about why they're paying the child support. It does go to the basic needs of the child. It goes to the health care, the education, different things that child needs to succeed and survive in life. So that's one of the reasons why we feel like it's important to try to get some of these people picked up and get some of this money paid back to these families.
All right. Someone listening right now that may be behind in child support, what would you suggest their action be today?
I suggest their action today would be to contact Child Support Enforcement through Department of Social Services, talk with them about their arrears, how much money they owe, and see if they could go ahead and work out some plan with them of getting that money paid. And if they don't have a job or can't pay it, they need to contact child support and let them know they can't pay it, so they can work out some type of arrangement to get it paid. Because without that, the only alternative is for the courts to issue these pickup orders to get them to pick them up, put them in jail. And so just ignoring the problem and just not doing anything will not solve your problem. It'll just cause you to have more problems.
Right. So basically, communication.
Right.
Here's where I am right now in life, and just showing that you want to.
Yeah, and just showing you're willing. Just showing you're willing is the main thing. Sometimes you run into those situations to where, that once child support's set up, you may have a good job and make a lot of money, and they take a percentage of that out. Well, you may lose your job after that. And so you can't pay that money because you no longer have that job.
Right.
Well, those are situations where you need to go back to child support and talk to them about that and about that situation and how things have changed in your life so that you can work out an agreement with them on what to do.
All right.
And I think it would save people a lot of trouble if they'd do that.
I think so, too. Just communicating, because situations do change.
Right.
And the courts don't know, or the child support division, they don't always know unless they're told.
That's it. I mean, they don't know that you got laid off or don't know that you lost your job. So all they know is that you're supposed to be paying X amount of dollars and you're not paying it. That's all they know. So, be sure and go down there and make contact with them. That might save you from getting an order for arrest put out on you and for us coming and picking you up.
All right. Let's see. Several months ago, we talked about the scanner situation. Are those problems all fixed now, or still
the frequency issues?
Yes, the frequencies.
Yeah. For the most part, one of the issues that was going on that we were trying to figure out, and we actually brought in. Our people who works on the radio towers brought in a piece of equipment that the equipment actually cost over $500,000 to try to determine where the interference and noise and stuff was coming from. It was a directional signal. If you ever been around or noticed some of these coon hunters and bear hunters with these finders on their dogs, where they have the little antenna where they point it toward the dog to figure out where the dog's running in the woods at. it's kind of a situation kind of like that. It's a directional antenna kind of thing that they started with the mountain up here at Fane Mountain, tried to figure out what direction the noise was coming from, pinpointed that direction, and basically just keep moving and pinpointing until they can zero in on the direction of the noise. They finally found where it was coming from. It was a construction company in Tennessee who had basically had bought their own equipment, set up their own frequency and their own repeaters and all this kind of stuff without going through the FCC to do it, which basically destroyed everybody else's communications in the area. It wasn't just us that was affected. It was Macon County was affected, Clay County was affected, Graham County was affected, and several counties in Tennessee and North Georgia was affected. So once they got that pinpointed and got it stopped, that cleared a lot of our problems up right off the bat. But we have another issue that we're currently working on, and with our sheriff's office frequency and the EMS frequency in the county, used to the sheriff's office tower was over on Wilscott Mountain, and EMS was on Fane Mountain. Well, now they're both on Fane Mountain, and it's been that way for several years. But with the frequencies being so close to each other in range, when EMS talks and pages out ambulances for things, sometimes it blocks the sheriff's channel, where officers that's trying to talk on the sheriff's channel, dispatch can't hear them because that signal is blocking the other signal out. So one of the things that we're doing to correct that is the frequency that we used before, the 154.905 frequency, that will eventually become our main frequency. That is what we will use for our sheriff's office frequency. We'll flip that to the main frequency. The frequency that we're using now, the 870 frequency, will be our backup, our tech channel frequency. That'll separate us from EMS to where that when they page things out or we're talking, we don't cancel each other out, and so we can both hear. We're in the process now of setting up additional towers within the county so that wherever our officers are at within the county, they will be able to reach a tower and be able to get out. So we're to about 75, probably 80% coverage now.
Very good.
Once we get this other tower up, we'll be to probably 90-95% coverage, and so there'll be very few places in the county we won't be able to talk. So once we do the frequency change, get the towers going, then we should be good to go. Won't have to make any more changes after that point. Hopefully that everything will go smooth and we won't have to change anything else.
There's so many parts that make up the department, so many invisible pieces that a lot of people don't realize are out there. Most people don't think about the communication towers for your office to talk back and forth.
Yeah.
But it's there, and it's
you got tower issues, you got repeater issues, you got radio car frequency issues, you've got walkie-talkie issues. I mean, dispatch issues from the CAD system, jail issues from the detention officer talking back and forth. So it is just a huge operation of trying to keep everything straightened out, and without having people assigned to certain things and monitoring and managing certain things, there's no way one person could do all of it. There's no way one person could manage everything in that sheriff's office. So that's why we have to have good, reliable people heading up these different operations and different things and letting them run it, letting them have control of it. And so it makes life a lot easier for everybody else once you know who's responsible for things and getting the job done in certain areas.
All right. Looks like this weekend we may start seeing a little cooler weather again. So I know you're happy for that.
I am. I know a lot of people don't like to see cold weather and snow coming, but I do. I like cold weather, and I'm happy to. I don't like the kind of the consequences that come from it as far as the traffic and accidents, and I don't like for it to get bitter cold. I mean, you've got people out here that use wood heat and different things, and elderly people, that I know it's hard on them, but I like wintertime. I like for it to cool off a little bit.
Have you had much of a demand yet for, I know the weather's not been that cold yet, but for the seniors who needed the wood
that
you're offering?
We have. We've already been delivering some wood, and one of the things that we encourage people to do is to go through the Department of Social Services first, their energy assistance program. We have no way of knowing at this point, starting this program last year and getting it up and running again this year, we have no way of knowing who is going through that program and who is going through the sheriff's office. So sometimes we're double delivering wood to people.
Right.
So what we decided to do this year was to have everybody go through their energy assistance program. And that way we have a record of who's needing assistance, who's needing help. If you're out there and you get denied by DSS assistance program for whatever reason, and it can be a lot of different things. One of the things is if you own property, for example, you may own more property that puts you over the limit, and they may deny you through their energy assistance program. But you could still be a senior in need.
Right.
So if you go through their program and you get denied, still call the sheriff's office. Let us know what the situation is. We'll try to get you some assistance, try to get you some wood out there to help you. Going through DSS is just a way for us to keep in track of people and making sure that everybody who needs it is getting help, and we're not sending all the wood to one place and we're leaving other people out there without wood. So we're just trying to be efficient as we can about it and making sure we get that out to everybody that needs it.
All right, Sheriff. I see our time has come and gone. Anything you want to mention before we close out?
No, I just want to wish everybody an early Merry Christmas. I know it don't seem like it this week with 70-degree weather today and tomorrow. But
I remember when I was working at the radio network in Raleigh, they sent me to Honolulu for Christmas to work.
Right.
So I was getting off the plane there at the airport in Honolulu. It was like 75 degrees.
Right.
Everyone was wearing shorts, and I heard Christmas music playing in the airport.
Right.
It's like, this just feels so strange.
This doesn't go together, right?
This does not go to, but it was a pretty cool vacation, and a work trip.
Yeah,
and I had pretty good vacation.
Well, we over at church this weekend at Valleytown, we did our cantata yesterday morning, and we did a play last night, and so things are starting to get in the Christmas spirit and starting to get Christmassy around. But I know it just doesn't seem like a lot of times with the weather that's out there. But I do want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope you have safe holidays and Happy New Year and all those good things.
Sounds good. Sheriff, I will see you back here next Monday.
See you then.
All right. It's WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina.